the Eastern Pacific Ocean, 0 to 23 hours local time, 340 nautical miles southwest of the Colombian port city of Buenaventura, in water that is 4,100 meters deep and black as oil under a sky that shows no moon. Something is moving just below the surface. It is moving slowly, barely 4 knots, and it is moving with the particular kind of careful patience that comes not from military training, but from the knowledge that the penalty for detection is measured in decades of federal incarceration. The vessel is a semi-submersible drug trafficking submarine. What the United States Drug Enforcement Administration, the Coast Guard, and Joint Interagency Task Force South call an SPSS, a self-propelled semi-submersible, and it is carrying 5 metric tons of cocaine with a wholesale value in the United States market of approximately $150 million. Its hull rides 4 inches above the waterline. Its diesel engine exhaust is vented through a snorkel pipe that extends 6 inches above the surface. Its radar cross-section is, by deliberate design, approximately equivalent to a floating piece of driftwood. Its crew of 4 has been at sea for 11 days, sleeping in 4-hour rotations on foam mattresses laid over the drug bales, eating canned food, navigating by handheld GPS toward a handoff, 600 nautical miles north, where a go-fast boat will transfer the cargo and the SPSS will be scuttled. What the crew does not know, what the cartel's intelligence network has failed to provide them, is that they have been under surveillance for the past 9 hours. And the asset conducting that surveillance is not a Coast Guard cutter. It is a P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, operating under JIATF-South, tasking from its home station at Naval Air Station Jacksonville, whose AN/APY-10 radar, in its surface search mode, generates synthetic aperture imagery of the ocean surface with sufficient resolution to distinguish a 4-inch freeboard SPSS from the ambient wave clutter. The P-8A acquired the contact at 17:31 hours local time the previous day, 9 hours ago, when the SPSS's diesel exhaust snorkel created a faint but consistent radar return at a range of 31 nautical miles. The contact was correlated with intelligence from a human source embedded in the Sinaloa cartel's maritime logistics network, which had reported a SPSS departure from a coastal construction site near Tumaco 3 days prior. The report had been graded as reliable. The contact correlation confirmed it. At 17:48 hours, the P-8A had transmitted the contact position, course, and speed to JIATF-South at Naval Air Station Key West, which had immediately coordinated with the United States Coast Guard cutter Stratton, WMSL 752, a 418-foot Legend-class national security cutter, which was operating 280 nautical miles to the north on a counter-narcotics patrol. The Stratton turned south at 22 knots. Her commanding officer briefed, her boarding team roused and conducting equipment checks, her MH-60T Jayhawk helicopter crew beginning pre-flight procedures. She would reach intercept position in 11 hours. The P-8A would maintain surveillance throughout. This is the architecture of American counter-narcotics operations in the Eastern Pacific and Caribbean. And it is worth understanding in detail because it is far more sophisticated than the cartel's logistics planners have accounted for. Joint Interagency Task Force South, JIATF-South, is a genuinely interagency organization combining assets and personnel from the Navy, Coast Guard, DEA, CBP, and partner nation military and law enforcement organizations from 14 Western Hemisphere countries into a unified operations center that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, tracking narcotics trafficking in the maritime domain with sensor coverage that the cartels have consistently underestimated. The P-8A that found this SPSS is one of 8 maritime patrol aircraft JIATF-South has access to on any given day. along with Navy EP-3 reconnaissance aircraft, Coast Guard HC-130J, Hercules patrol planes, and partner nation assets that collectively generate persistent surveillance coverage across the primary drug trafficking corridors from Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru toward Mexico and the Caribbean transit zones. The cartel that built and dispatched this SPSS, the organization's maritime logistics branch, which operates independently of the drug trafficking cells and is staffed by engineers, former military personnel, and specialists in radar cross-section reduction who have studied American detection capabilities with a professional seriousness that would be admirable in a legitimate defense contractor. Spent approximately $800,000 constructing this vessel. They chose the SPSS configuration specifically because its radar cross-section and optical signature are optimized to defeat the detection capabilities of the legacy P-3 Orion maritime patrol aircraft that was the backbone of JIATF-South's airborne surveillance fleet for decades. Their intelligence about American detection capabilities is, in the specific area of P-3 radar performance against low freeboard targets, accurate. Against the AN/APY-10 radar aboard the P-8A Poseidon, a system whose surface search sensitivity exceeds the P-3's by a margin that the cartel's technical advisors have not been able to quantify because the relevant performance data is classified. Their SPSS is not optimized. It is visible, but this scenario is more complex than a single SPSS, and the cartels have made it so deliberately. At 02:23 hours, as the U.S. CGC Stratton closes to intercept range, the P-8A's radar paints a second anomalous contact, 22 nautical miles northwest of the SPSS, on a different course and at a slightly higher speed of 6 knots. The second contact has a marginally larger radar signature than the SPSS and what appears to be a different hull profile. Then, at 02:41 hours, a third contact, 14 nautical miles east of the original SPSS on a southeasterly course. 3 vessels, all showing SPSS characteristic radar returns, all on courses and speeds consistent with drug trafficking activity. The cartel is running a 3-vessel package. This is a tactic documented in DEA intelligence reports since 2019, but employed with increasing sophistication, that exploits the limitation of a single intercepting surface ship. A Legend-class cutter can only board 1 vessel at a time, and the boarding process, from arrival on scene to secure custody of crew and cargo, takes between 45 minutes and 2 hours, depending on crew compliance. If you can force the cutter to choose between 3 simultaneous intercept opportunities, and then scuttle the remaining 2 while the cutter is occupied with the first, you potentially save 2 out of 3 drug loads. At $150 million per load, the math is compelling even at a 2/3 loss rate. What the cartel has not accounted for is that the Stratton did not come alone. USS Sirocco, PC-6, a Cyclone-class coastal patrol craft, has been operating in support of a counter-narcotics task group 180 nautical miles to the northeast. And at 23:47 hours the previous evening, when the JIATF-South Operations Center received the P-8A's second and third contact reports during its preliminary surveillance period, the Sirocco was tasked and turned southwest at her maximum sustained speed of 35 knots. At 35 knots across 180 nautical miles, the Sirocco arrives at 02:15 hours, 8 minutes before the current moment, and is holding position 40 nautical miles northeast of the primary SPSS contact, waiting. Additionally, a USCG Dolphin MH-65 helicopter from Coast Guard Air Station Barbers Point in Hawaii, repositioned to the USS Stratton's flight deck during a logistics stop 16 hours earlier specifically for this operation, is spotted and pre-flighted on the Stratton's aft deck, its crew briefed on all 3 contacts and their positions. At 02:29 hours, With all 3 contacts confirmed and their positions bracketed by the P-8A's continuous track, the Stratton's commanding officer authorizes the intercept plan. It is a 3 simultaneous intercept plan, built around an asset package that the cartel, whose intelligence about American counter-narcotics operations extends to the types of ships deployed, but apparently not to the specific assets aggregated for this particular operation, does not know exists. The Stratton moves to intercept the primary SPSS. Contact 1, the original contact, the largest of the 3 and assessed as the most likely to carry the primary drug load based on its course alignment with the documented handoff point. The MH-65 Dolphin launches at 0231 hours and vectors northwest toward Contact 2, 22 nautical miles away, with authority to conduct a vessel approach, communicate with the crew by megaphone, and coordinate with Stratton for a boarding team delivery by small boat. The Sirocco, already in position, is directed south toward Contact 3. Contact 1, the primary SPSS, is 14 nautical miles ahead of the Stratton when the intercept plan is executed. At 22 knots, the Stratton will be unseen in 38 minutes. But 38 minutes is enough time for an SPSS crew who knows a Coast Guard cutter is approaching to execute scuttling procedures. SPSS scuttling, thus flooding the ballast compartments through pre-installed seacocks, takes approximately 4 minutes when the crew executes it with practiced efficiency. The crew of Contact 1 almost certainly knows the Stratton is approaching. Their lookout has almost certainly seen the cutter's navigation lights at some point in the past 2 hours, and a 418-foot Coast Guard ship at 22 knots generates bow wave noise and radar emissions that any crew with a basic receiver would have detected. The question is whether they know it in time to scuttle successfully before the Stratton arrives. The answer to that question is determined at 0234 hours, when the Stratton's MH-60T Jayhawk helicopter, call sign Rescue 11, launches and immediately pushes west at 140 knots toward Contact 1. The MH-60T is not a weapons platform in the traditional sense, but it carries a crew that can communicate with the SPSS crew by megaphone and spotlight. It can deploy a boarding team via fast rope if necessary, and most importantly, its arrival overhead the SPSS at 0241 hours before the Stratton is within visual range changes the dynamics of the scuttling decision. The SPSS crew, looking up at a military helicopter with a spotlight illuminating their 4-inch freeboard hull from 200 feet altitude, is faced with a choice: scuttle immediately and attempt to be recovered as survivors, or comply and face a boarding. They have been trained, as all Cartel SPSS crews are trained, that scuttling destroys the evidence. No drugs, no prosecution. The evidence is the 5 metric tons of cocaine in the hull beneath them. They begin scuttling at 0242 hours. The MH-60T crew observes the SPSS's waterline dropping, the hull settling as water floods the ballast tanks, and transmits the observation to the Stratton. At 0243 hours, the Stratton's commanding officer authorizes immediate small boat deployment. A 26-foot over-the-horizon cutter boat carrying a 6-person boarding team launches from the Stratton's port side at maximum speed. The OTH boat covers the remaining 8 nautical miles between the Stratton and the SPSS position in 14 minutes, arriving at 0257 hours. The SPSS has settled to the point where only the snorkel pipe and approximately 18 inches of upper hull structure remain above the water line. The 4 crew members are in the water, wearing life vests, having abandoned the vessel as the flooding progressed faster than a complete scuttling allows. The boarding team recovers all 4 crew members. They mark the SPSS's final position with a datum buoy. Then, this is the procedure that makes drug evidence destruction by scuttling strategically futile against a JIATF-South operation. A Navy EOD diver in the OTH boat enters the water. The SPSS is sinking but has not yet reached the bottom. At the depth where it now rests, approximately 40 feet, still in the photic zone with adequate visibility for underwater work. The EOD diver enters the partially flooded hull through the crew access hatch and retrieves 2 sample bales of cocaine before the vehicle completes its descent. 2 bales, approximately 40 kilograms, enough for full chemical analysis, enough for chain of custody evidence, enough to support federal prosecution of the 4 crew members, and through forensic analysis of the cocaine's chemical signature, its specific precursor chemical ratios, its adulterant profile, its geographic origin markers, to identify the specific laboratory and cartel organization that produced it. The drugs are on the ocean floor. The evidence is in the OTH boat. The prosecution will proceed. Contact 2. The second SPSS, 22 nautical miles northwest of the primary, is a different problem. When the MH-65 Dolphin arrives overhead at 0247 hours, the contact is not where the P-8A's track predicted it would be. It has altered course, turning west at 0238 hours, apparently detecting the helicopter's approach on a passive receiver, and increased speed to approximately 8 knots. The MH-65 crew reacquires visually using their NVGs. The SPSS's snorkel exhaust is creating a faint heat signature visible to the helicopter's FLIR system at 400 meters altitude. They illuminate the vessel with their spotlight. The SPSS crew does not stop. The MH-65 communicates by megaphone in Spanish. This is the United States Coast Guard. Stop your vessel immediately. You are ordered to heave to. The SPSS continues west at 8 knots. The Stratton is 32 nautical miles away, too far to dispatch a boarding team with confidence of rapid arrival. But the Sirocco, having completed its initial approach vector toward Contact 3, has been repositioned by JIATF-South's watch officer, who has been monitoring the MH-65's radio transmissions in real time, and is now 18 nautical miles southwest of Contact 2, closing at 35 knots. She will be on scene in 31 minutes. The MH-65 maintains visual and FLIR contact on the SPSS throughout, providing continuous position updates to the Sirocco via radio. At 0318 hours, the Sirocco arrives alongside the SPSS, which has not scuttled, possibly because its crew, having heard the MH-65's megaphone transmissions and seen the helicopter maintain continuous overhead surveillance, has concluded that scuttling will not destroy the evidence before recovery assets arrive. They are correct. The Sirocco's boarding team is in the water within 4 minutes of arrival, and aboard the SPSS within 9 minutes. 4 additional crew members are taken into custody. A boarding team inspection of the cargo space reveals 4.2 metric tons of cocaine in compressed bales, still dry, fully intact. No scuttling was attempted. The evidence is complete and undamaged. Contact 3, the easternmost SPSS, is the most professionally operated of the 3. Its crew, apparently monitoring maritime traffic on a VHF scanner and observing the Stratton's course change at 0229 hours, begins scuttling at 0233 hours. 23 minutes before any American surface asset is within 30 nautical miles. By 0312 hours, when a second OTH boat from the Stratton reaches the datum position, the SPSS has been on the bottom for 19 minutes in 67 meters of water, too deep for immediate dive recovery. The 4 crew members are recovered from the water. Their vessel and its cargo are gone, 1 out of 3. The cartel's 3-vessel tactic achieved a 1/3 loss avoidance rate. 1 load scuttled successfully, 2 captured. From the cartel's mathematical perspective, this is not a complete failure. 1 successful scuttling means no evidence for that specific prosecution, no chain of custody, no chemical signature analysis linking the load to a specific organization. But 2 complete captures, 4.2 metric tons of cocaine and 40 kilograms of sample evidence from the third SPSS represent a significant operational loss. Approximately $126 million in wholesale drug value seized or destroyed, 4 crew members from each vessel in federal custody, and chemical signature data from 2 separate loads that will be correlated with intelligence about the producing cartel's laboratory locations and supply chains. The 4 crew members from the scuttled Contact 3 SPSS will face federal prosecution for conspiracy to import controlled substances, a charge that carries up to life imprisonment, despite the absence of the physical drug cargo. The charge is sustainable because their presence in international waters aboard a vessel with ballast tanks, flooded in the pattern consistent with SPSS scuttling, combined with their crew positions, their communication records recovered from waterproof phone pouches, and the testimony of the other 8 crew members in custody, constitutes a prosecutable evidentiary record. Scuttling the drugs does not scuttle the prosecution. Now let us address the strategic picture, because the counter-narcotics mission is sometimes treated as peripheral to the Navy's war-fighting mission, when in fact it demonstrates, in operational practice, some of the most important capabilities in the American Maritime Power Toolkit. The P-8A Poseidon's detection of a semi-submersible with a 4-inch freeboard in open ocean at night is not a capability that was developed for drug interdiction. It was developed for anti-submarine warfare, for detecting submarine periscopes and snorkel mass in the mid-ocean environment against the Soviet ballistic missile submarine threat. The AN/APY-10 radar was designed to find periscopes. A semi-submersible snorkel pipe is a larger and less stealthy target than a submarine periscope. The P-8A finds drug submarines because finding things that try not to be found on the ocean surface is exactly what it was built to do. The cartels have spent years engineering their SPSS designs to defeat maritime patrol aircraft sensors. They have been engineering against the wrong aircraft for the past 5 years. JIATF-South's coordination architecture, the ability to vector a Coast Guard cutter, a Navy patrol craft, 2 helicopter types, and a maritime patrol aircraft into a simultaneous 3-vessel intercept plan within 9 hours of initial detection, is a demonstration of the command and control integration that American joint operations have developed over decades of practice. The watch officer at Key West, who repositioned the Sirocco from Contact 3 to Contact 2, based on the MH-65's real-time radio reporting, made a tactical decision in approximately 40 seconds that affected the outcome of 2 simultaneous boardings. That decision was made possible by a common operational picture that integrates sensor feeds from every asset in the area into a single display. The P-8A tracks all 3 contacts simultaneously. The watch officer sees all 3 simultaneously. The asset repositioning is a function of common picture and clear communication, not brilliance or luck. The cartels understand that they are in a technological race with the United States interdiction architecture. They have invested significantly in SPSS design improvements, fiberglass hulls with radar-absorbing paint, submerged ballast systems that reduce freeboard to near zero, engine cooling systems that reduce thermal signature, GPS jammers, passive VHF receivers for monitoring law enforcement communications. These investments are real and have made SPSS detection more challenging than it was in 2005, when the first SPSS types were identified. They have not made SPSS detection impossible or even particularly difficult against the P-8A and the sensor architecture that JIATF-South currently operates. The cartels are also constrained by an asymmetry that no amount of engineering investment can overcome. Every improvement they make to their SPSS design costs money, time, and logistical complexity, and increases the construction signature that human intelligence and signals intelligence can detect. The $800,000 SPSS that Contact One represented was built in a facility near Tumaco that had been under surveillance since 2021. The human intelligence report that correlated the P-8A contact with a specific SPSS departure was generated by a source who had been in place for 3 years. The chemical signature analysis from the evidence bales will confirm the producing laboratory's location and support targeting of the supply chain that produced the cocaine. The interdiction is one step in a larger operation that extends far beyond a 4-inch freeboard hull on the ocean surface at 02:23 hours. 20 crew members are in federal custody tonight. 4.2 metric tons of cocaine are in a Coast Guard evidence locker in San Diego. The chemical signature data is in a DEA laboratory in Chantilly, Virginia. The cartel's maritime logistics branch will conduct an after-action assessment and conclude, correctly, that the 3-vessel tactic requires refinement against an adversary that can vector multiple simultaneous intercept assets. They will redesign. They will attempt again. And JIATF-South will be watching, because JIATF-South is always watching, with aircraft whose sensors were built to find submarines in open ocean and whose organizational architecture was built to turn a sensor contact into a simultaneous 3-vessel intercept within 9 hours of initial detection. The Eastern Pacific is deep and dark, and 4,100 meters to the bottom in places. Tonight, 3 more SPSS crews discovered that depth is not a reliable destination for drug evidence when a Navy EOD diver enters the water before you reach it, and that darkness is not a reliable cover when a P-8A with an AN/APY-10 radar found your snorkel pipe at 31 nautical miles 9 hours ago and has been watching every turn you made since. The drugs are off the street. The crews are in custody. The Stratton is back on patrol. In Key West, the JIATF-South Watch team is reviewing the engagement, updating contact reports, and checking the next P-8A surveillance window. They do this every night. They have been doing it since 1989. Bye for now.